pa 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 ella, pa 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 ella,
So glad you could join us for another edition of Locally New England, a show that is committed to bringing you local lifestyle insights, marquee events, and business profiles highlighting the culture that makes Rhode Island and New England such a special place to live. I'm Meredith Gorman.
And I'm Joe Guarnieri. Halloween is right around the corner, so to celebrate, we'll feature some Halloween events for you to check out and get into the holiday spirit.
But first up, we'll sit down with Sinapi Law to discuss employment law, a very important legal topic right now. All of that and more when we come back.
Locally New England is brought to you by Charahoe Furniture, beautifully crafted American-made home furnishings. First Hyundai, North Attleboro. Save every day at First Hyundai. And Some Pump Geeks. We service all brands.
Joining us now is Sinapi Law Associates. Thanks for joining us. And of course, today we're going to discuss the very important subject of employment law. Now, as we talked about right before you guys came on the show, most employees in this country are at will. Now, what exactly does that mean?
At-will employment means that unless you are protected by a collective bargaining agreement, because you're in a union, or if you have a written contract of employment for a specified period of time with a for-cause termination provision, you are probably an employee at will. That means that you can be treated adversely by your employer, including demotions, reductions in pay, what have you, or you can be terminated at any time for any reason or no reason whatsoever, unless it's motivated in whole or in part, this is where we come in, by race, color, sex, creed, age, disability, national origin, sexual orientation, or whistleblowing, or retaliation for exercising one of those protected rights.
Right. And so what that means also is that the employer can even terminate you for an incorrect reason, maybe a reason that's unfair, and it may very well be unfair but not illegal, and that's where you have the line and we have to figure out as an attorney, does the unfairness rise to the level of a violation of the law?
Now, what are the most common employment violations?
By far, it's disability, pregnancy, or caregiver discrimination, by far. Employers, they look at people who are injured as damaged goods. And, well, they're supposed to come back from this injury or what have you, but, you know, I don't know if I can rely on this person. You know, I think, you know, it'd be safer to get rid of them. And you see that all too often.
And I would add on top of that, that for disability discrimination, what's really big and happens a lot is mental health issues, right? Where a lot of employers, they don't treat mental health as a disability under the Americans with Disabilities Act. They think people are making it up, you're whining, you're complaining. Whereas if a person has a physical disability, they buy into it more, right? And so there's a lot of mental health disability discrimination going on.
Sure, you mentioned, you know, you make sure the employee's protected. What's the typical process like when people bring your firm in after they've been terminated from a job and they think it was unfair?
Well, our process is actually relatively painless. You know, we do a lot of it remotely. They provide a summary or chronology of what occurred. We discuss it with them. We may discuss it together with this, you know, with my associate attorneys, Dan and I, and our colleagues, and then we make a determination if we think we can help them. We can't help everybody.
Right.
Not all of them, because we have to try to pigeonhole it into one of those protections. As Dan said, just being unfair and to somebody and not having gratitude to your employee or respect for your employee, that's not enough. We got to pigeonhole it. So we do that, and once we do that, we enter into a fee arrangement for them. We'll contact the employer by a letter of representation and other means, and we'll go from there to try to negotiate a resolution or reinstatement or what have you, whatever the employee seeks.
Right, and if that doesn't work, if the employer does not want to resolve the situation, then it goes to the level of a lawsuit, usually in federal court. And so we try to resolve it amicably if possible, but if not, then it results in a lawsuit. And the only thing is that, oftentimes a lot of people call us, and again, it's unfairness that's happened, or it's a personal conflict that's happening, and that doesn't rise to the level, but people appreciate that we can at least give them guidance and explain to them what the law is.
Absolutely. Now, for people watching at home who are wondering, hey, maybe I was wrongly terminated from a past job, I have two quick questions. First, how far back retroactively can you go to go up against a former employer? And two, if someone watching this at home is interested in reaching out to you guys, what's the best way?
That's a great question. So the best way to reach out to us, it's calling 739-9690. That's 401-739-9690. They could also visit us online at www.sinapilaw.com and fill out a questionnaire, and we'll get back to them promptly. But the most important thing that people who are considering a potential lawsuit against an employer is to make sure that they've documented everything. In terms of the statute of limitations. Yeah.
So the statute of limitations, typically it's 300 days for employment law for all your federal rights, except Leave Act claims like FMLA, which are 3 years, 2 years in certain cases. Under Rhode Island law, we have the Rhode Island Civil Rights Act, which incorporates many of these protections: race, color, sex, creed, age, disability, incorporates many of those. So we're able to stretch that out to 3 years in most cases as well.
All right, well, unfortunately, losing your job can be a tough part of life. Thankfully, people have you guys on their side. Thanks for joining us.
That's our pleasure. Thank you.
When we get back, we take a trip down to DAI Restore, coming up next on Locally New England.
DAI Restore is here to help anybody in need with a natural disaster or experiencing any kind of unwanted catastrophe, from commercial to residential to industrial standards. We're here to help and clean up the mess that is too big for you to clean up and too big for you to handle itself. We have training in all aspects, from IICRC for mitigation, reconstruction. Services go from trauma, crime scene, water loss, unwanted water infiltration, fire, smoke damage, and biohazard services. DAI is also abatement certified and lead certified. So whatever your catastrophe is, DAI is the company to help, assist, and get you back on your feet. We're a family-owned company, and we're here for the long run. We take pride in what we do, and we treat your house like it's our own, or your business like it's our own. We started doing car shows because we figured if we hosted a car show or a gathering or event and we had food trucks here and made it a family outing where all ages felt welcome, the only charge of it is a canned good for you to come in, and even if you don't have a canned good, we're not gonna judge. It's okay. Come see some cars. It's giving back to a shelter for the homeless to survive with the canned goods, or even just having the community come together so they can all just have that small talk and that camaraderie with each other is huge for us. Not to mention, we do 50-50 raffles so we can give back to an organization for wounded veterans.
I've seen them reach out to the community, collecting food items, canned goods, to give back to the VA, which hit home to me because I'm also a vet.
I grew up in Newport, Rhode Island, so I regularly attend Newport Gulls games in the summer. And DAI happens to be a sponsor there. So anytime a foul ball is hit, the stadium plays screeching tires and broken glass, and it's often followed by the crowd saying, DAI does that.
Usually the family-owned businesses, and specifically DAI, there's a tie to the community that you come from. I've seen it both on a personal aspect of knowing them for a long time, and that relationship with the small company, family-oriented with the community involvement is a lot more personable than I think you get from the bigger companies.
Community is a really big part of our family-owned company. Without the community, we wouldn't be able to have a company. Whether we give back by hosting car shows or giving back to food drives or pet shelters, that's the whole point of trying to reach out to let them know that we are here. We're here for fun, we're here for your disaster, we're here.
Some of the qualities with DAI Restore that really makes me trust them is their responsiveness. I mean, they're very, when you talk to them, they're extremely confident about, you ask a question, they give you an answer. They're not looking it up, they're not thinking about it. They're telling you what they're going to do for you, and then they do it. So that's a quality that you don't see too often, and they do a great job with that.
I personally use DAI for my real estate investment projects. I look at two things when I'm looking at a business. I look at how efficiently they can actually do the work, and then I look at the ethics of the business. So DAI being locally owned, I know personally the people who own it, and also clients that they've had in the past. It's great to know that I can trust them to do the right thing, not look at the bottom line, and that's how I can trust them with other clients as well. And DAI definitely has backed that up. There was multiple times where things were actually ahead of schedule when they were doing the work.
The main thing I want to reach out and let everybody know is that DAI Restore is a family-owned company that is here to help you. Whether you have a disaster or not, or whether it could just be a question, DAI is here to answer that question for you. There is no job too small and no job too big. We're here to help all customers. It doesn't matter what your cleaning needs are. That's what we're here to do. We're open 24/7, holidays, 365. All your emergency after-hours calls goes right to the main people. Give us a call. We're here to help.
Are you getting ready to retire? When we come back, we sit down with Mark Smiley from Retirement Made Easy to discuss how you can successfully navigate the retirement process.
Mark, retirement is something that everybody aims to achieve in life. How can someone prepare for that ahead of time?
The most important thing is to stay flexible. You know, I start off a seminar with the statement, can anybody tell me what the tax environment's going to be like in 20 years? And if so, let's go to the track and see what your luck is going to bring you there, because nobody does. So all of the different factors of your retirement you think are going to stay the same, but they're not. So you need to remain flexible in your retirement decisions.
Now, as far as someone getting into retirement, what are the other services that you guys provide?
Well, we do financial planning,
okay.
Specifically for people that are in a retirement environment. It's quite different once you're in up to the point where you do retire. That money in your 401k is play money. It's money that you put in there and it does stuff and you don't pay attention to it, so on and so forth. Now that you're turning 66, 67 years old, this money is becoming real, okay? And losing money is a horrible thing in your retirement. I tell the story of my father who turned 70 in 2008. Okay, well in 2008, everybody remembers the Great Recession. He went from $300,000 in the market to $185,000 in 1 year. He also had to start taking his required minimum distribution. That meant that he had to sell low. When I took over in 2017, he still hadn't recovered. He hadn't even come close. Wow. You know, and it's just a situation where taking that kind of a loss, which it should happen 2 to 3 times in a 20-year span. You know, that we're going to have those dips in the market. It's going to happen. You need to be prepared for it. So that's what we help people. Put money into investments that you cannot lose.
Right.
You know, that sort of thing.
And you talk about preparing for retirement down the line in the future, but at what age should people start worrying about, hey, let me save part of my paycheck and put it into this 401k? Because I think a lot of people, young people think, oh, I don't need to worry about my retirement yet.
So if you make a minimum investment into your 401k at 18 years old, you're almost guaranteed at 70 years old to be a multimillionaire. If you just continue to do that at a very young age. If you jump on, you know, in your 50s, all right, retirement's likely to be a struggle. You know, compounding interest is one of the wonders of the world, I believe Einstein said. You know, I don't remember which one, but definitely one of the wonders of the world. And so if you have enough time, the earlier you can do it.
Yeah. For those of us who are curious to learn more, how can they contact you?
Well, I have a location in Bristol and one in Middletown, one at 555 Metacom Avenue in Bristol, and one at 2 Coddington Highway, which is the corner of Coddington Highway and West Main Road. The same telephone for both locations are 401-741-7813. You call, make an appointment. We sit down with you. It's one-on-one kind of work. So there was one other thing that I wanted to bring up, and it's one of the scarier things. Many people that, when they turned the right age to go into Medicare, were still working. Yeah, because the maximum retirement or the full retirement age is still 67 years old. So they continue to work, but they had employer group health, so they didn't have to worry about Medicare. One of the caveats to that rule is that you have to have equivalent drug coverage. okay? If your plan doesn't have a maximum out of pocket of $2,000, it looks like that means your plan is no longer equivalent, and you will incur a penalty if you don't react to it. We've been waiting for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid to say one way or the other, are you really going to enforce this rule or are you not? And so far they haven't said that they're not. They haven't said that they are, but by default, if they don't say anything, then the rule is you no longer have creditable coverage. And then you will start incurring a penalty. Let's say that you wait until you're 70 to finally retire, find out, you have 4 years worth of penalty. And the penalties are not a one-time thing. They're every month you pay this penalty. So that's a big piece.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take in, a lot of information, and definitely be great to get involved and check you guys out.
I mean, when you finally reach the retirement age, penalties are the last thing that you want to deal with. So thank you so much for your time, Mark.
Thank you.
Halloween is almost here. Locally New England gets you into the holiday spirit as we take a look at the Jack-o'-lantern Spectacular at Roger Williams Park Zoo. We then take a trip to 13th World to see what terrors they have in store. You like to be scared? Stay with us if you dare.
Jack-o'-lantern Spectacular kind of started as a small family event, and it has grown beyond all imagination to where we now have thousands of carved pumpkins throughout our adventure trail. This year the theme is all trivia. Every year we have a different activity, different sort of theme. So as guests go through this time, they're going to see several thousand pumpkins. They're going to get asked trivia questions, and they might even discover the answers along the way. Jack-o'-lantern Spectacular runs from now, the end of September, all the way through November 2nd. Our presenting sponsor is Citizens, and we're so glad to have all the folks who are participating with us. The guests are going to probably spend up to 45 minutes, maybe even an hour, once they get on the Jack-o'-lantern trail. So it's an adventure all the way around. You're going to see thousands and thousands, quite literally, of carved pumpkin Jack-o'-lantern faces, but you're also going to see really intricate artwork carved into the surfaces of some of these things. I was just walking through this afternoon and I saw a Da Vinci painting on a pumpkin. The team starts working on the displays the second week of August, and they're pretty much working around the clock all the way through August and September to get ready in time. Our landscaping and horticulture and buildings and grounds teams have done a series of what we call skits all along the waiting line trail as you come in through the zoo. So before you ever start to see the pumpkins, you see the sense of humor of what it means to work at the zoo. My favorite one this year is the see-through petting zoo. I love watching the kids' faces light up, and honestly, I like watching the adults play too, because what I'm finding is that Halloween is fun for all ages, and we see guests coming in, get dressed up in costume, and then just dumbfounded by the things they see along the way. Depending on how busy the evening is, it could take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour to get through the pumpkin trail. It's all going to really depend on the speed that the crowd is moving and how much fun everyone's having as they gawk and listen along the way. All of our paths are ADA accessible, so yes, strollers and wheelchairs are welcome. We open the gates for the first guest to come in and get in line at about 6 o'clock, and the last guest is admitted at 10. So it's a pretty good solid evening. One of the things we're doing this year as well is we have some daytime events going on. We have what we call Spooky Zoo, where the kids can come in costume and trick or treat in the zoo. That information is also on our website. It's the last 2 Saturdays in October. We also have a sensory-friendly night where the music isn't going to be quite as loud, and some of the other things are toned down a little bit so everybody can really enjoy the experience without being overwhelmed by it. We have a family fun night planned as well, where we're going to have costume characters that are also roaming the trails in addition to seeing the pumpkins. The best, and in fact the only way for guests to get their tickets, is to go to rwpzoo.org. That's going to be our homepage. It's all about Jack-o'-lantern Spectacular right now. You'll be able to find out the times, the prices. We really recommend that people go early to buy their tickets because we do have nights that sell out. Go to rwpzoo.org to buy tickets. Roger Williams Park Zoo, Jack-o'-lantern Spectacular 2024.
13th World started 23 years ago. Our concept is we didn't want to be stuck to one haunted attraction or type of theme. So we wanted to be able to be creative and give our audience a bunch of different themes. So we came up with 13th World because as you go through the trail, our idea is that you're going through 13 different worlds that we're introducing you to.
So we have about 80 actors altogether that are actually out there in the sets. If you're a runner, they're going to chase you. If you're kind of just walking through, they're going to be in your face. They're going to be talking to you. They're going to be trying to say things that do scare you. Try to maybe divert you one way so another guy comes from the right to get you when you're not expecting it. So, I mean, you can expect anything when you're out there because it's total chaos.
Every year, the 13 themes are totally different because every year we take this trail completely down and start brand new. And every year we get to be creative and create 13 different worlds that we didn't have last year. This year we did a sewer plant, you know, because that's creepy.
We never had one of those. We have people in there with gas masks on, and then we have a laser effect that looks like low-lying water. When it rains, it's good because sometimes the rain comes through the ceiling, so it kind of looks like you are in a sewer. We also have Slaymas, Christmas. The elves took over the North Pole, and they killed all Santa's elves and Santa too, and they put on their clothes covered in blood, and they're ready for any kids to come through.
As far as the chainsaw aspect of things, we have cornfields, we have barns, some of the old-fashioned, old Western things that creep people out in the movies. And then to top it off, we end with an asylum with some of the favorite slashers, and more importantly, an attraction that the patients run, not the doctors.
We recommend 12 and over, but I mean, some kids are more brave than others. I mean, sometimes we have 50-year-olds that run out of here screaming, crying, and then we have a 10-year-old who comes through and thought it was the best thing that he's ever had. Some people want it to be more intense, so me and Richie put our minds together and we said, well, let's maybe offer a touch option. We'll do an 18 plus. We have them sign a waiver. They have to present their ID when they come up, and then once you go in there, it just makes the experience better.
You'll get a special necklace that lights up that allows our guys to identify the fact that you can be touched. Now at any time, if you no longer want that experience for one reason or another, you could take the necklace off and throw it down. So you can eliminate the experience at any time. But as long as you have it on, it allows our actors to know they're allowed to touch you and have a little extra fun with you per se.
It also makes it better for the people who don't have touch or fear, because now they're seeing these people getting grabbed and thrown into rooms, and it scares them. It's kind of the end reward of just seeing it all come together and everyone loving what we put together.
We're open this Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Every Friday, Saturday, Sunday up till Halloween. Also the day before Halloween will be open, and the 2 days after Halloween. Website is 13thworld.com. 13 is 13, thworld.com. You pick your destination. We have a Rhode Island location and a Mass location. So if you go there, you get to pick your poison and decide to where you want to enjoy yourself for the night.
Well, that will do it for this episode of Locally New England.
We hope you enjoyed as much as we did. We'll see you next time.
Locally New England is brought to you by Cheraho Furniture, beautifully crafted American-made home furnishings. First Hyundai, North Attleboro. Save every day at First Hyundai. And Some Pump Geeks. We service all brands.